My Santa Claus looks so cute in the window. Nobody else can see it but us, but I like it back there because our front of us house.
Well, you got it basically for you anyway, didn't
And
you?
I like looking at it.
Say something.
Oh, are you really taping, honey?
Yeah.
Oh, hi. We're getting all ready for Niecy's birthday.
Okay, now wave.
No way.
She says it.
I care about people who are sick and people who are not sick. That's what I always wanted, but you got it. You should know what the other is. I know what it is. Barbie. Well, you can't. You know who it is?
Oh, happy New.
Bonjour, hello.
Who's here?
Oh, the prince.
Yeah, let it freeze and let it. Hey, maybe you can put that on hold.
No, maybe the carpet.
Yeah. No, I do.
Well, it only goes to that little one.
Hi,
I
Nana.
thought you said this gift goes.
Happy
Where's this
birthday
gift
to Denise.
Where does this gift go?
It goes to the
Big one?
Hi, Grandpa.
Okay. For you, sister.
We're at a party.
Here's wishing you the whole year through the joys you're dreaming of, good times to share with those who care, and always worlds of love. Happy birthday, Todd.
Todd.
That's from Todd, huh?
Yep.
That's my big old brother.
Can you sit down?
That's a pretty Barbie.
Oh, I know what it is. You don't know what it is, Samantha. Yeah.
Well, it's fun to guess, but you're going to have.
Yeah.
I got you something you could do something with.
Really? Oh.
And where's my...
Do you still like the mask? Well, not one but a mask that way that color.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, watches go with everything.
I have a pretty watch.
Do you? That's a Ronald McDonald watch.
I have the same one.
Do you?
I'm gonna get a wedding.
Why don't you go
This
ahead?
was my sister's.
Okay, here you go, Denise.
I don't want you to leave.
Here, let me read it. To a special girl who's 7. A wish for a girl who's just naturally sweet. Here's hoping your birthday is really neat. Have a happy fun birthday and a happy year.
Amanda.
Samantha.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, let's see what.
What? She can't tell Samantha. Here. Somebody said that. Hey, belt. That's why you to have a belt. Oh, now I really know what it is.
Do you?
Oh, I know. A
I
teddy bear.
bear.
You put on the pennies and Mickey Mouse.
Oh, how nice.
I thought I got
Oh,
3.
good deal.
Why you can
Hope your
Let me
birthday
see
is
it, Denise.
delicious.
Hold it up so I can see it.
To Denise from
Let's say
Samantha.
hi.
Yeah. Okay.
You from
Let me have it.
Today's
Nancy.
This is from Samantha also.
Oh, I know you're gonna love it. That's what is it? I'm beginning. I love you. Oh, no, I think
Your friend Robbie Dillard.
Trace, sit down, Trey.
Don't you?
Trey,
Trey,
can you sit down so we can take some pictures? Good boy.
Boy, look over there at Jenny taking your picture.
Wave.
Hi.
Everybody wave. Yeah.
What'd you get?
Oh. Heavy
Hand lotion.
Oh.
How nice. Boy, just wonder whether you need that. Who
Yeah.
gave that to you?
Robbie Dillard.
Oh, Robbie Dolmar. Oh.
Samantha told me what to do.
Well, that's okay. We'll just keep.
I'm not so sure. It is. Andrea.
Oh.
so nice. To Denise from your friend.
Randy.
Oh, Randy don't like
Just
that.
We almost got her the same hand lotion.
Did ya?
We almost did. It looks like this.
You know those pizzas that you girls sold? They were sure good. We enjoyed them.
Here with the handle of Denise.
Oh,
Oh.
how neat. Fun in the tub.
Oh.
I don't know what those are.
Andrea and Shannon, look this way and wave.
Okay, now this is from Nana and Grandpa Austin.
The other Shannon.
Look this way.
Denise, why don't you open the big one next? No, I'm gonna open all the little ones first, then I'll get the big one. You want me to go over there and get those?
No, it's okay. I can do it.
Everything.
So is your dad gonna open some garage doors again today?
Open it, hurry.
That's
My
just
mom
fine.
called the garage people and they came and fixed it.
Turn it on, please.
Your mom's not gonna let your daddy even look.
What is that?
No, she's like that
Coloring,
all the time.
Todd, good.
Coloring book.
About most things, she's.
A
Comb and a mirror.
Get away. Anyone does that.
That's a big one, Lisa. Oh, what's that gonna do? Oh.
For a dear daughter, you're a kind of a daughter who's loved the youth food. That's all these kisses are meant for you. Happy birthday. Love Mom.
By the time he got that wilderness, I knew what.
No, let's put down the hall.
Hi.
Get another gift to open, Mom, while I'm trying to
He
open
brought that thing.
Hi, Mom.
Here you go.
See? Oh, this is all the time. You have all the time.
I'm holding on to
No, it's for Annie Doll.
Oh, what is that?
That's a stroller.
Oh, who's that from?
Mommy and Daddy.
Oh, how nice.
What I need.
Trey?
Quick, KO.
It's a seat for your Cabbage Patch doll at the table.
Okay.
We have to go.
Where's Teresa?
Oh, thanks, gosh.
I know. Yeah, but he's
Right, I understand. Yeah. So I would say, oh,
You want to die in a 4 or 5? That's okay.
Hi, Nana and Grandpa.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
Denise!
Everybody wave.
Ah, that Christmas spirit. Seems everybody's got it. Sure is a shame we can't keep it all year. Or can we?
What are you doing, Dad?
Okay, well, come on now. Everybody else is putting their Christmas work. You put in yours.
Please tell you not give me Janine's pizza because she had nothing in her plate. You didn't give Denise any pizza.
Wait, Earl, wait a minute. You can't say that. This is a family show.
What's wrong with X-ray specs?
Miss Earl, everybody knows what you want to do with those X-ray specs.
What?
You just want to try and find where I'm hiding from my Saturn disco record.
Hey, Billy Bob's gonna put it. Oh, wanna give him a big birthday hug? Can you give him a hug?
Oh, how darling.
Okay, y'all, Billy Bob's gonna count to 3 and then I'll just sing happy birthday, okay?
Steady.
1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Denise. Happy birthday to you. And many more. Okay, give Billy Bob one more hug before you give him that belt, honey.
Attention please, we have a very special birthday announcement. Showbiz Pizza Place, Billy Bob, and a rocket fire explosion. We'd like to wish Denise a very happy 7th birthday. Happy birthday, Denise, and thank you for sharing your birthday with us here at Showbiz Pizza Place.
Sammy. Denise. Trey. Lisa. Wave, girls.
my infancy and what they had told, what I remember
Yeah.
of my infancy, or just how?
That sounds good.
Well, really, my first recollections are, I imagine I was about 5 years old. When my baby brother was born, we lived in what we called the old house, and it was really an old house, very cold in the winter months, and very hot in the summer months because the hot winds just came right through the cracks where the cold wind came through in the winter months. So, but I remember my baby brother's birth, and how...
Which one was that?
That was Fred.
Fred.
Yes, that was Fred. I remember my mother carrying him, and there goes the throat. And then we were planning very much on the girl because my mother had 4 boys already, and myself, the only girl, so I needed a sister in the worst way to try to keep up with those brothers of mine. But when that doctor came in, and after he was there a little while and he opened up that satchel and he produced a baby brother, I was ready for him to put that baby right back in that satchel and take it back with him. But my mother said she loved him very much and she wanted to keep him, and she convinced me that it was a good baby after all. So I did simmer down after a while and accepted him, and of course, true enough, when morning came, why, there was nothing but love in my heart for that little one. And that was the way it stayed from then on. And I can remember caring for him as a little girl as much as I could. Mother used to set him in a rocking chair and have me rock him while she would be preparing the meals for the family. At that time, we had quite a few in the family, as my father was married previously and had 4 children. However, those 4 children were not all home at this time. I only remember my youngest half-brother, Curtis, being around very much. And
He wasn't much older than Jimmy, is he?
I think he's 4 years older, 4 or 5 years older than James. So really that isn't that much of a difference, you know. He might be 6 years older than Jimmy. So there isn't that much of a difference between my oldest brother and my half-brother, my youngest half-brother. But I do have recollections of my 2 half-sisters coming home at different times from their work. Bess was a school teacher, and Lola was a telephone operator. And my being the only baby girl, well, I was spoiled. I'll admit to that a little bit. Not much, just a little bit. And but my 2 oldest sisters, they just loved to make clothes for me and dresses, and when I was a little girl, the thing was to make your dress with your pantaloons, your bloomers, of the same material, you know. And one day my youngest half-sister had made me a darling dress that I was just, I was in love with, and the bloomers too were very pretty. So when her boyfriend came to see her that night, I pulled up my dress and showed him my bloomers and embarrassed her today. But not only did I show him my bloomers, showed him my belly button too, which embarrassed her to death. And she never let me forget that as long as she lived. But they did. They spoiled me all my life. Those 2 sisters of mine. We thought a lot of each other and was very close. And but as I said, they weren't around me very much. They were, because they were busy making their own lives. And soon Bess was married and went to California with her husband, and so that ended seeing her for many years. In fact, from the time I must have been about 6 years old, and when she left to go to California, and I didn't see her till I was a teenager again.
Go on.
And the same way with Lola, you know. She, after Beth came to California, then she got a transfer from Shawnee, Oklahoma, where she was working with the telephone to go to California. And so I never saw her again until we came to California. I think it was in '36. So that was quite a long span in there, from 25 to 36, I think it was. You know, so there was quite a few years in there that I don't remember Lola at all. But I did get to see my half-brother Manuel quite a bit because he came in and out. But I didn't see Curtis anymore from the time my youngest sister went to California, because shortly after she went, she sent for him, and he stayed. He lived with her then, from then on until he got married. But as we grew up, then with the 5 boys, actually it was the 4 boys, because my little brother Buddy, he passed away just before I was born.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. Yes, He passed away in July, I believe it was, and I was born in October. He had measles and whooping cough at the same time, so of course, deadly is right, you know, because there was no shots, nothing for him, and when they got the 2 diseases together, it was just more than an infant because see, he was 2 years old.
Yeah.
So it was just more than he could withstand. So it's kind of sweet. I think that's what got me in the first place, with my throat kind of being a little raspy.
Take a break.
No, let's don't take a break. Let's go on. So then a short time, after Fred was born, by the time he was about 4 years old, 3 or 4 years old, my mother and father built a new home out on a farm where we were born. And that home was very comfortable and nice to live in. You know, it was warm in the wintertime and cool in the summertime.
The old house was on the same property, though.
It was on the same property. We built the new house in front of it. Yeah. You know, it was on the same property. And we had a lot of hardships there because we did not have any water close to the house. So we had to haul our water, which we had a delicious well that was about a half, 3/4 of a mile back up in our pasture. And we had good water there, but that meant that we had to haul our water from there for the home use there back to the house. So we drank out of a 50-gallon barrel. It was a wooden barrel, is what we hauled our water in. So, and for washing our clothes and drinking and everything, you know. So we had to go very sparingly. We did go very sparingly with water because nobody liked to haul it. That was a job that nobody particularly liked, particularly in the wintertime when there was ice and there was snow and cold wind and that water, cold water splashing on you. It wasn't the most comfortable thing, you know. And then that was one of the chores that nobody liked. It usually fell for the younger children because that was a chore that we could do. By the time he was 8 years old, he was hauling water.
How'd you get out of the well? Bucket by bucket?
Bucket by bucket. And we had the long bucket in our well, which I think it held about 1.5 gallons of water. Might have held 2 gallons, I don't know. And it was on a pulley, and we pulled it up and then dumped it over into the barrel. And the barrel was pulled by, was put on a pretty good sized sled that was low to the ground so that we wouldn't have to lift the water, that we could just dump it, you know, as it came up with the long bucket. And it was pulled by a horse. And so you always had to harness the old horse and hitch it up to the sled and then take off and go get the water and all.
50 times lifting that bucket.
Right.
Up and down.
Right.
A lot of work.
It was a lot of work, and particularly for a child, you know. You had done a nice chore by the time you got that done. Well, we had to usually haul 2 or 3 barrels of water on the wash day because the first barrel went to go into the big kettle that we built fire in out in the yard. We built fire under it to heat the big kettle of water. And that first kettle of water then we put in tubs for our first washing, and then we filled up that kettle again to boil our clothes. In those days you boiled your clothes, and nobody washed without boiling your clothes, and usually with a little lye in it. So you had clean clothes, really. But the minute that that pot was full, then that usually deleted your first barrel of water. So then the horse and the sled went back after more water while Mother and my father helped her quite a bit with the washing. And after I grew up, then I helped her quite a bit with the washing. Summer months wasn't too bad. We washed out underneath the trees, and it wasn't too bad. But the winter months was a different thing. We had to wash inside the house, and of course we washed on a rub board. We didn't own a washing machine. In fact, they were seldom even heard of in our part of the country at that time. And that made it bad because by the time you hung clothes out on the line, they would be froze stiff. So they would dry freeze. Actually, while they were out on the line, they would freeze dry. I know that doesn't sound logical, but it did. Things did that. So, and of course, milking those stupid old cows in the winter months wasn't exactly what I call fun either. In fact, it was very miserable. And that's one of the things I say, no more. No more milking of those cows. And I had a lot of pleasant memories, though. Gee, when we were growing up, especially my 2 older brothers, they had different interests entirely than me and the 2 younger brothers, because they were just that much older than we were, that their interest was already going to girls and things like that by the time I got up any size at all. And so I played mostly with my 2 younger brothers. We rode horses, and we lived close to a creek that was provided a lot of pleasures for us. The older boys, they would hunt game on it, and by game I mean squirrels and things that we would eat. Would be squirrels and rabbit, but they also trapped for furs in the winter months, which would give them their spending money. Jimmy bought his first and only guitar from the monies that he had saved from trapping furs. They bought some of their clothes and things with it too.
You cut this off a minute.
Okay.
Here we go again.
So we're back at it now. So,
You were talking about Jimmy and
Clarence being older than we were, and their interests being different than Fred and Bill and mine. But we had many pleasurable times down on that old creek, riding horses and gathering wild plums and grapes and persimmons, and there was some currants and a lot of pecans. It was always a lot of fun to go and have our outings there, and of course we had an old swimming hole. It was a mud hole actually, but we kids had a lot of fun swimming in it. times we had. My mother's house was usually the gathering place of the family, and by the family I mean her brothers and sisters. I didn't see too much of my father's brothers and sisters because they wouldn't go any place. They just stayed in their own home, and they lived in a little town of Connewa, and that's where they stayed. They didn't get out of that little town of Connewa. So once in a while, that's where they stayed all of their lives. Some of them, I doubt if they were further than 16 miles away from that little town all of their lives, and they all lived to be 80 years old or more. And that's where they stayed, was right there. And they all were buried up there. So if we got to see them, we had to go and see them. They didn't do much visiting. They didn't do any visiting coming down. Just my one aunt, Lena, which lived in Wichita Falls. She came by 2 or 3 times. Now my cousins on my father's side, that was different. They came down to visit with us, but never their mothers and dads, just the cousins. So I went to the country school until I was in the 2nd grade, and then our little country school consolidated into what we call the city school, into Waurika. And the city school, the city there was, I think, about 2,300 people. But that was quite a city. It was the county seat of the county, and a very important little town, we thought. And so our lives, then we were bused to and from school the rest of my school days. I was bused to and from school with the exception of the last 6 months of the schooling that I had. My mother and my parents then separated. And my mother came to California, but I stayed to finish school, I thought, in Oklahoma. But at the end of that school term, it just proved to be too difficult for me to be alone with my father. Not that my father was that difficult, he wasn't. He tried to do everything in his power to make me very comfortable and happy. She's upstairs, darling. But he had no provisions to supply our needs or our wants because we were living with his family, which were my aunts and uncles. And the means were not there. Just weren't there. So we came to California then. But I kind of jumped the gun there. So I kind of jumped the gun, Jenny, in my life story there. So here we are. But as I said, I kind of jumped the gun there. So I would like to go back to my younger days when we were all children at home. I have some very, very lovable memories of sitting around the fire at home and my father and mother telling us stories of their childhood.
Oh, yeah?
And either one of the 3 of the smaller one of us would be in Mom and Dad's lap. Usually I ended up in my father's lap. And he'd tell a little story that happened to him and his brothers when they were children. And tell us about the Indians. You know, some of them, they would get to drinking too much and they would kind of stir up a little trouble once in a while. But normally, he had a lot of respect and love for the Indians. But those stories always just kept us spellbound. And my father was a good storyteller. Being an evangelist, naturally he was a speaker. And he was a good speaker. And he could take a story and make it very interesting when it really wasn't that interesting. But he was a good storyteller, and he would keep us kids spellbound. And my mother was always a very gentle, kind mother that kept our family very close together. So, as a child growing up, I have fond memories of a very close, loving family life. But of course, as we grew older, then problems did begin to occur, and the separation occurred, and eventually the divorce. And that really tore me up.
Yeah. Well, you what? About 15 or so?
Yeah.
Hard age then.
Yeah, and it really tore me up quite a bit. It was hard for me to accept. I just couldn't understand why two people couldn't just say, well, that happened yesterday, forget it all, and let's be happy now, because of the earlier part of my life was so happy, and I just couldn't understand why they couldn't continue on that way, but they didn't. So life just went ahead, and it was very happy ending anyway. But when my father would have us talking to us, why, he would tell us about his cousin, Sam Rayburn.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. That, I believe he said it was his second cousin. How they used to play down on the stream. There was a river close by where they lived, and they would play down on that and fish and have a real good time. So after I grew up, and he was telling me one time about something that he and Sam Rayburn did, it just astonished me, because at that time he was the Speaker of the House. So that really thrilled me then. Now, he was kin to Sam on his mother's side of the family. And I don't know whether it was his mother's, I believe it's his mother's sister's son, is who I think he was. He was on that side of the family.
His mother's side, they were
Ratliffs.
Ratliffs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I know it was on his mother's side. And so I think his auntie married a Rayburn, is the way I think that. Now I'm very unhappy with myself, because I didn't go into the family tree at that time. So what, you know?
You knew them all.
Right.
They're always around, you don't think about
it. Right, you know. But of course now my father's dead and gone, and there's no way I can get the information that he had, you know.
Yeah.
So,
I thought Sam Rayburn was from Texas.
yes.
His father was born in Texas.
Right. That's where they grew up, was in Texas, and there was a stream there where they used to play. Right.
And sometime later they moved to Conway, Oklahoma.
Right. His parents moved when I understand that my father must have been in his teens when they moved to Oklahoma, if I remember correctly.
And they're both buried in Conway too.
Right.
His parents.
Yes, my grandparents are buried in Conway, as well as all of my father's brothers and sisters, with the exception of one girl, which is probably put away in Wichita Falls, with her husband and family there.
I remember her name, Lena Tessophonia. I just wonder where they got that name from.
I have no idea where they got that name from. Well, but there's a lot of real good memories there, you know. It's too bad that I wasn't more interested in my family tree, because my father, he used to try to say, now this should be of interest to you, but he liked every old museum in the country, and to me that was old stuff, and I wasn't interested in that at the time. Now I would eat it up, but that's what 30 years will do to you. Makes a difference.
When Todd and Lisa and watch this tape 30 years from now, they'll be glad to.
Oh, I hope so. So, father and mother separated. They had a trial, get together again, reconciliation. But there was just too much water under the bridge, and it just couldn't be mended. So they finally just, my father came back to Kiowa with his brothers and sisters, and the divorce was gotten here. And it wasn't many, it was about 6 years, I guess, 7 years. Then he met a young woman and married her. Well, my sisters, they just pitched a fit. They thought it was terrible that my father would marry again. But by that time, I had been so heartbroken and so upset about it all. But by that time, I had realized that my father was so unhappy and so alone. My mother still had the children close to her, all of us close to her, and everything. And my father had nobody or nothing, really. And he just had rather stay with his brothers, around his brothers and sisters, than to be unhappy around my mother. So when he finally found this lady and woman and married her, I was really glad, because I felt like it, once again, it needed my home life. And it made me happy to see him have it. And she was very religious, and that helped. He was still preaching some, evangelistic. So he, and teaching Sunday schools, he was always a great teacher. Then you kind of remind me of him, of the talent that he had for teaching. He was particularly when it came to the Bible, he was a very, well, he had memorized that Bible. I mean, from top to bottom. You could start reading in it any place you wanted to, and he could quote the rest of it right on down. So it just amazed me, the knowledge that he had, and the interpretations and things. As you know, everybody has their own interpretations of everything. But I liked what he stood for. Basically, I differed with him on a lot of things, but basically I did agree with his thinking. And as I get older, I agree more than I did when I was younger.
Your mother and father, both of them, they had been widowed before their marriage.
Yes,
so it was a second marriage for both of them.
Yes, it had. My mother had married when she was 16 years old, and she'd married a young Indian in Oklahoma. Of course, my mother was born just over the, I believe she was born in Texas too, wasn't she, Grandma? Or something like that?
I don't care where she was born.
You don't have it. Well, I'm sure it was down there. And anyway, she married this young Indian boy, and he was full blood, David Spain. But they weren't married very long, about 6 months, and he was riding a horse, and the horse fell into a gopher hole, stepped into a gopher hole or a rabbit hole or something like that. Anyway, the horse fell, and it fell on him and killed him. It threw him against a stump, a tree stump, and the horse fell into him and just crushed him. So then my mother remained single until she was 29 years old. And she met my father in he was holding an evangelist service in Waurika. And that's where she met him. Because she lived in Waurika too at that time. She and her sister and her mother lived in Waurika.
Do you remember her mother at all?
Oh, yes, I remember. I have.
Martha Adeline Beltwell?
Yes, of course her initials was M.A., which is Ma. And that's what everybody in the little town of Waurika called her, was Ma. Ma Stillwell. And the grandkids, all of us, called her Ma Stillwell, you know. So we spoke of her as Ma, and she loved my father just very, very dearly. And when we were in my younger days, we would, on Sunday all get dressed up and come into Waurika to church. And my grandmother always had dinner ready for us after church, and she'd always bake a 4-layer cake. Now, if you can imagine what 4 layers was, it's like that. But she baked it on her little coal oil stove. A taste you'll never forget, you know. And she always, in the summer months, she always had iced tea for my father. And the rest of us, as far as that goes, but especially, and she called my father Preacher Hill. Yes, she spoke of him as Preacher Hill to his face, you know. And my father loved her very much. There was nothing that my daddy wouldn't do for Mom. So we had...
Some of us get lucky with mother-in-laws.
But sometimes mother-in-laws are very fortunate to have son-in-laws like you too, I tell you. But there was no problem there in the family as far as in-laws was concerned, because my grandmother just worshipped my father. In fact, boy, she'd clean my mother's plow every once in a while. It's something that she would come say to my father, you know. She would come right after her. But
Now, Ma Boutwell always called your mother Marguerite.
yes, she did. She called her Marguerite, and that was the only name that I ever knew. Maggie, they did call her Maggie quite a bit too, but when my grandmother spoke of my mother, it was Marguerite. But now her sisters and her cousins and things like that called her Maggie. They called her Aunt Maggie. All the nieces and nephews called her Aunt Maggie. But my grandmother called her Marguerite. In fact, every once in a while she'd say Margarita. You know.
It was something in one of the, I asked Doris, in one of the Bibles or something, it's very hard to read, but it looked like Megan.
Never heard it called Megan in my life. I never seen it or heard it before, you know.
But she didn't have a birth certificate until she was 50 or so when she went to Texas.
Oh, she was 65. She was ready for her Social Security, you know, and she had to have a birth certificate, and her oldest brother was living in El Paso at the time. So she and my oldest sister caught the train and rode down to El Paso, and her oldest brother swore in an affidavit that her name, you know, and her age and all. So no, of course I know no birth certificate, but I do remember that particular incident very, very readily. But she was getting ready for her to draw her Social
We'll get a
Security.
picture of that.
You certainly
Carrie
have.
Howard, she's carrying Uncle John's
banjo. Right.
Getting ready for that trip.
Right. He had been out to visit us, and he had left that banjo at our house. And of course, she had written him and told him that what she wanted to do, and that she was coming in. He was living in this hotel, and of course, he had played that banjo all of his life, and he was a good banjo player. So he asked her if she would please bring his banjo, and my mother and sister, they took that.
Was Lola carrying one of them was carrying a box of crackers too?
Yeah, oh yes, well my mother lived with crackers, you know. Crackers and milk was her stable food.
You too, yeah.
Oh yes, well, yeah, I've always liked salty crackers, being raised on them quite a bit. So, yeah, it's a staple of life. With the Hill family, we all like them. So, now then.
You didn't know your mother's father because he died.
He died before my mother's youngest brother was born. So, no, I never saw him at all. My mother was, she barely remembers her father.
Well, yeah, she was 5 years old when he died.
Yes, she said that he used to put her, he had a box that he would put on the plow when he'd be working in the field. And my grandmother was carrying Uncle Miller and wasn't feeling too well and all. And my grandfather fixed this box, and he set my mother in this, and they would work all half a day out in the field with her in that box, and he would play with her while they were plowing. So she has a lot of memories of being with him, even though she was young when he passed away. He died, my grandmother used to tell us the story of how that the winter months came and they were getting low on wood, so he had to go haul wood. So he harnessed up the horses in the wagon real early in the morning and left. And it was a pretty nice day when they left, but in those days they didn't have any forecast or anything. You never knew what the weather was going to be. Like today, it's nearly 70 degrees, but the day before yesterday, yes, 20, you know. So you can never tell just what the weather's going to be. But anyway, he got up in the wee hours of the morning and went for a load of wood. And by the time he had that wood half loaded, it began to rain and sleet. Very cold weather had come in on him. Well, he had about 8 or 9 miles to haul that wood before he got home. And by the time he got home, he was nearly frozen to death. And he was very ill. And my grandmother said when he got off of that wagon of wood, and he made a beeline for the house. And he did not take care of his team, which he loved. He pampered his working team. He always took care of them first. They came before he did normally. And she said the minute she saw him get off of that wagon and come into the house and leave that team standing there unattended, she knew that he was very seriously ill. I don't know how many hours he lived after that, but he had pneumonia and he died.
You know, I look at he died on the 10th of April of 1889, so it was a late spring storm.
Right.
And, you know, the winter of 88, that winter, he died in the spring when he was, you know, everybody still speaks of the winter of 88. It was the worst winter, I guess, on record in the United States. Even today, it was a terrible, terrible winter.
Right. Well, my grandmother used to tell us children, you know, she said, your grandfather, I knew the minute he got off of that wagon. He was very seriously ill. And so she was still carrying Miller, and he was born, I think, about 6 weeks. So I don't know. Does it say there what?
I
don't have his.
Miller's, yeah. I got the other book.
Yeah. Birthday. But anyway, he was born then.
And your father was Clement, were you?
Yeah, come in.
Your father was born after his father died, too.
That I wasn't aware of, didn't until,
my love.
yeah.
Sit down here by your mother.
Yeah. We kind of got you, didn't we?
Yeah.
Slide over there a little bit.
Yeah.
Are you sure that's getting all of us?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
So, you know, what Jimmy and Doris had, the dates match. So your father was born in last day of August of 1849, and his father died in 1849. But somewhere in one of the notes it said he never saw us, or his father died when he was born.
I wasn't aware of that.
Oh wait, that's your grandfather, James David Hill.
Yes.
It's our boy.
He's a baby.
Yeah, he's a good boy.
And you say you didn't, the Hills, you didn't see them much unless
No.
you came to Conoway.
Yes, unless we went to visit them, which we didn't. Well,
She's
come
gonna-
on,
she's
baby.
gonna get in the middle too.
Come on,
Come on,
honey.
Nancy.
This is our
Yeah.
new family. Oh, she likes kisses.
She likes to give kisses. Yeah. Now, you're going to have to behave if you're up here.
Yes. Oh, she gives me kisses
Yeah,
too.
she's the new addition to the family. The little sister.
She's just a baby.
Why don't you turn around there and give them a real good look?
Of your character.
Yes.
The
says that's enough of that. I'm
Yeah,
ready to
she's
go.
not a lap dog.
No, she wants to be recognized, but she don't want to tarry long.
She's
Got
not a
things to
terrier.
do.
You're right. She's such a puppy.
You're right.
But we like her anyway. She keeps us a hopping around here. I tell you, when it rains, she's mud up midways of the side, so that means she has to have a bath every time she goes outside.
But the vet says she has beautiful fur.
Yes, she does.
So it's nice to feel because it keeps silk
Yeah.
very soft and silk. Doesn't feel like dog fur at all. So
You used to have a dog named Blackie, too, that you liked.
She's not sound.
yes, yeah. After Larry and I was married a year or so, I guess, every animal we've ever had, we have fell heir to it, one way or the other. We've never actually, except Missy. I've got Missy, you know. But Larry's niece, sister, was married to a serviceman, a sailor, and they were being transferred to New London, Connecticut, and they couldn't take the little doggy Blackie with them because they didn't have any place. It's wartime, World War II, and there was just no place to take a dog because so many rentals would not allow them. And they had, in fact, they had a hard time getting the kids in. You know, 2 children, with one a boy. Nobody wanted to rent to them. If you had a dog, well, that would just made it nearly impossible. So I fell heir to that little doggy, and we had that dog for 17 years.
She got hit twice, did she? Once somebody hit her.
The neighbor ran over. She became old. She got old. She's about 12 years old. And her hearing had left her. She could hear, but not very well. But I think it's basically her eyesight. She depended upon her eyesight because she did have pretty good eyesight. But she was laying down at the edge of the gutter curb with Larry and the kids. It was out in the garage where we lived. Why we had no driveway. Our garage entrance went from the street, went right straight into the garage, and she was laying there. And our neighbor, by her laying right up next to the curb, they came in from church, and they drove right up and drove over her, you know. Well, we nursed her back to health, though, and that she was quite a sick doggy there for quite some time. Probably wouldn't have been quite so bad if we'd had a good vet, but the vet wasn't a very good vet. So, but you don't know these things until you lift your animal with them for a few hours. But and this one too, we fell heir to him, and we hadn't had him about a week until he got run over by a truck, and it cost us a mint of money to have.
Did his hair fall out or something? Or part of it?
It changed colors. He was black, and now he's gray. See, he's still got the tip of his ears, and his paws are black, but he changed colors.
You're watching that blinking red light there on the camera. What is that?
So, then somebody threw a cat out in our backyard, and Nancy was just a small girl. She was about 6 or 7 years old. And by throwing it out there, over the fence, they broke its little leg. Well, we nursed that little thing back to health, and we had that cat for, she must have been 12, 13, 14 years old when she passed away, wasn't she? Yeah, Mitzi. So, we had her. In fact, she and your cat was buddies.
Gypsy?
Yeah, Gypsy was a fighter. That was your cat, Jenny. Boy, there wasn't a cat around that she couldn't whip. Well, little she wasn't a fighter. She was a little lover. But she was a hunter. And she used to go and hunt the birds, kill a bird, and bring it in for Gypsy to eat, particularly when Gypsy had just fought her fight the night.
She was a good hunter.
The night before. So the kids, one day, Mitzi had she had a bird in her mouth, and she brought it up to the back door, and she made a funny sound when she had a bird in her mouth. So I went there and to the door, and there she had this bird in her mouth, and I was fussing at her about catching birds. I didn't especially like that. And she was going to meow at me and tell me that she wanted that bird, and when she opened her mouth, that bird flew away. She barked at me like a dog. The kids still remember her really getting mad at me because I made her open her mouth and that bird got away. But it pleased me to see that bird fly away. So, with just about every animal that we've ever had, all of them, we fell in there to one way or the other. Out of the good.
Is this what you got from
Nancy? Yes.
Bo?
Yeah,
Was Beauregard.
Somebody had thrown this little thing out when he was he must have been about 2.5 months old. Because he still had puppy breath, you know, when Nancy first got him. And it was rainy. It's in the winter months. It was rainy and cold. And this little thing just ran from house to house there for a week or 10 days. And finally Nancy said, well, if nobody else wants that dog, I'm going to take it. So he was such a sick puppy when she got him. She took him to the vet, and he had distemper. He had been mistreated out in that cold weather and rain and everything for so long that he'd gotten distemper. Well, she nursed him back to health. And he's such a lovable little animal, but she and her husband were having problems. And so they decided that it would be better if I took the puppy. Nancy said she was going to have to find a home for him, and I said, well, he's already in our hearts now. Everybody loves him, so if you can't keep him, I will. So he's come to live with Nana now. I think he's very happy with us. He seems to be very happy with us.
He likes the snow.
Yes, he loves.
He doesn't like the water.
No, he don't like water. But he's worse than most cats when it comes to water. He doesn't like it at all. But snow, he looks like the abominable snowman where we moved now. And we get light snows in the winter months. And, oh, he loves that. And I know that new little poochie we've got here, Missy, she's going to like it too, because the other day when it snowed here, well, she was out rooting in that snow, and when we brought her in, she's built so low to the ground, she was just solid snow all in her fur there. You had to put her in warm water to melt the snow. So, back to my life a little bit. After my parents separated, and I was stayed with my father, and it just didn't work out, as I said. You know, he just didn't have the means to supply her needs. So my mother and father decided that they would try to get along again. So he and I then came to California. Well, that really didn't last many months, probably a year or so. But I quit school and went to work. And I worked at a dress factory. And I worked there for 6 years. I haven't had many jobs in my life, but I worked there for 6 years, and about, I guess we've been in California about a year. And my sister said, I've got somebody I want you to meet. And I know you're going to like him. He's my favorite. So it wasn't many days after that, then she had me over for dinner. And there's where I met Larry. So not much came of the meeting, really and truly. So, but we did talk and kind of compare notes a little bit. But I had a date, so I had to hurry back. And so at that time, I had an apartment. I was living in an apartment because my mother and father were still living in Riverside, and I was working in Los Angeles. So I no sooner got home from the date and the telephone rang, it was Larry. Then he wanted a date. It was in the summer months, and so he wanted to take me to down to the pier. I don't know whether that pier was still down at Venice when you were growing up or not. Gone by then. But it was an amusement park that we used to go to where they had rides that went out, extended out over the ocean. And it was for the young people on dates and things would go. So that was where we went on our first date. And things was slow developing because I had different interests, and really he had different interests too at the beginning. But it began to blossom after 5 or 6 months. And we dated each other for over 2 years, nearly 2.5 years, from the time we met until we were married. And we were married about 5.5 years when we had Gloria. And she was the light of our life. And she was a very much wanted baby, I'll tell you. So,
By that time the war was over.
yes. No.
Oh, she was born in 44.
What, 44? No. Larry had gone off to war and had received his injury. So he was sent back to the hospital, Oak Knoll Hospital. He was ambulatory, but he was still in the cast from here to here. And there's where I got pregnant when he was in San Francisco. When we were in San Francisco, because I came up there and stayed with people else. And then from that hospital they sent him to Glenwood Springs, and he stayed there for 3 months. And we had already bought our little home in San Fernando, and that's where I stayed while he was gone away in the war. So when he left San Francisco, then came on home and stayed there until he got out of the hospital in May. And so then we started our lives all anew again, really and truly, because here I was expecting a baby and have a job, and so but it didn't take long for him to pick up where he had left off, and things began to work out very nicely for us. And it wasn't many months till we had this new baby, and boy, our lives was a humming then. They've been humming ever since, let me tell you. And then from the time she was born until we had Nancy, it was about 9.5 years. And she was another planned baby. We had looked forward to her for many weeks and months. And Gloria was just as excited about her as I was. So it made, and my mother too. My mother made my babies a very joyous occasion for me. I helped fill in my moments, as you well know. You've got some very frightful moments and things. So my mother was always there to soothe me and make things very happy and very nice for me. She lived with Larry and I for several years. I think Nancy Glory was about 18 months old. And she was, because we had moved into the new house in San Fernando that Larry had made for us. And she came to live with us there. And so she lived with us for about 15 years there. And then she got to where that she stayed part of the time with Jimmy and then part of the time with me until she passed away. The last few months, of course, she was in a rest home. The last year, she was in a rest home. The care was very heavy and quite a lot. After she became paralyzed, it was just a lot of work. And I was working too. I had to go to work at from Allvale. So it just, she couldn't stay at the house alone.
At one time, at the senior citizens home, they found her on the roof, didn't they?
Yes. But this was before she'd had the stroke. She was a very independent person. And but I don't know, just at this time she had become quite senile to a degree. And all she knew was that she was trying to come either to Jimmy's house or to my house. I don't know which house it was. But anyway, she got out of her room and saw this ladder, and up on top of the roof she went. And then, of course, after she got up there, she couldn't get down. So it took quite a few people to get her. But she was always getting into one scrape right after another, let me tell you, because of her activities, her independencies. So I can't think of anything else. And of course, there's many things and many interesting things. After we came to California, of course, was when we got reacquainted with my sisters, Lola and Beth, and then we became very, very close. My two sisters and I became very close. Loved each other very good. In fact, we used to talk to each other when the three of us would get together, and we just didn't feel like we were half sisters at all. We just felt so close, and there was nothing but love between us at all. Of course, I was 20 years younger than Lola, and 18 years younger than Beth. So there was quite a bit of difference between. And I got reacquainted with Curtis here too. So it just gave us a bigger family and more fun.
I remember you predicted when Larry was coming home during the war.
Oh, yes. Well, I think we all have a little psychic feelings within us, you know, and I went to visit, I didn't go to visit, I went to help his twin sister. Larry's has a twin sister, and she had developed pneumonia at the same time that he had become injured in the service. And she was real ill, and the neighbor and her doctor called me one night and told me that she was going to have some care, that she had these two babies and she was very, very ill. In fact, she was going to have to go to the hospital. So there was nobody else. They did have a sister. She did have a sister, but the sister was on the East Coast, or Florida. I've forgotten which, but she was far, far away. So I got on the bus and that very night, and I went up, and sure enough, I got there just in time to help her get in the ambulance and go to the hospital. She was already, the fever was just real high. She was just delirious with fever, and her two children was sick too. So 2 babies to take care of. And while I was, after she was in the hospital 2 or 3 days, I got a letter from Larry. And I read that letter, and I knew he had been injured.
He didn't say that.
No,
or
no,
you
no,
could-
no.
you
He
just
could not
pick-
say nothing. But in reading that letter, I had a feeling came over me that he had been injured. And as the hours and a couple of days went by, I just had the feeling that he was coming home. Now, I did not know how he was coming home, in what condition he was coming home. But I knew he was on his way home. It was all there to me. Well, with Lillian being sickened in the hospital, got in touch with the Red Cross, and they got in touch with her husband, with Pete. He was in the Navy, you know. So, being a hardship case, they let him come home for 10 days to be with Lillian and the children, because his whole family was very seriously ill. So, he hadn't been there but a day or 2, you know, and the feeling was just so great in me. I told him, I said, Pete, Larry's on his way home. And it was at the holiday time, Christmas time. And he looked at me like I was just nuts. And he said, Janie, I don't even want you thinking that he's coming home. There's no way that man can come home. He's in a war. And there's no emergencies for him, so there's no way that he can come home. I said, Pete, he's going to be here by New Year's. He said, how do you know that? I said, I know it. I feel it. And that is it. So, of course, the days went by. A week went by, and within 10 days, then Lillian came home from the hospital. And the second day she was there, home, why, they decided that they was going to tell me once and for all that Larry was not coming home. Here, Christmas had passed, and it was nearly New Year's, you know. And I told him, I said, I don't care, Larry's on his way home. He might not make it at the exact holidays because of what, on his coming home, his transportation, but he is on his way home. Well, they said, Janie, you flipped entirely. And I said, so did. But that's the way I feel about it. The very next morning, there was a telegram. I'm in Oak Knoll Hospital in Oakland. Come see me when you can. So, I made it, you know. It was not a prediction, it was a feeling. I was not predicting anything. And I feel like the good Lord had just told me that. And of course, when I got the message that he was in the hospital, then I was so excited that he was home again and all, but I was apprehensive of what I might see too. You know, I could hardly wait. Oh, I was there, and at that time, he was up on his feet. He was able to get up on his feet. And what a joyous reunion that really was. But he stayed there again for 6 weeks, and we stayed there with Lillian. Then I had another feeling.
Let me get Gloria in here.
Okay.
Okay. We were talking about psychics.
Yes. I was telling you about the time that your father came home from the service. And then I was going to tell about another time that I had a psychic feeling too. So maybe you could kind of help us out on this psychic feeling.
Dennis was supposed to come home.
Supposed to come home February 3rd,
That was
1968.
That was on a Saturday.
From Korea. And then 12 days before that, the USS Pueblo was seized by the North Koreans. And they, come here, Nisi. Back the camera. And then 12 days before that, the North Koreans seized the Pueblo, and they canceled all the port calls. And I had sent you tapes that you already got by the 3rd of February telling you I wasn't coming home.
Right. I had already quit work because we were going to be going. I did okay until Friday night before we were due home. And then that night I just cried and cried and cried. Daddy came in. He said he wished he could do something to make it better. But by Saturday morning, I was doing pretty good again. And I decided to just go through the regular day, do things. I was going to wash the car and stuff. But my silly mother wouldn't let me leave the house.
Well, when you got up, shoot.
Yeah, she had her hair washed, her nails painted and everything. And I said to her, "Don't do that to me, Mama." I said, "Where are you going to go?" And she said, "I'm going to the airport to pick up my son-in-law." And I said, "Don't do that to me. I had it all out last night. I said, I'm going to go down and get some bread from the store for some toast." She said, "Oh, you can't leave. You're going to get a phone call."
Did you have that same feeling?
Sure. I knew that you was coming in. I got prepared for you.
Yes, she even had squab and wild rice in the oven, your favorite dinner. But you hadn't called by noon, and she said at the noon table, she said, "Well, I'm sorry that I got you kind of excited here that since you hadn't called, but that she still felt that you were coming home. That it may not have been the exact time that you were scheduled to, but she felt that you'd be coming in that weekend."
And then?
Yeah, we got a phone call after lunch.
It was about 2 or 3 o'clock, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was about 2. You were due in at 3, and we got the phone call just before you were due in. Of course, you were still in Seattle, so you were a little bit later coming in, but we got the call that you were coming in.
Less than 24 hours earlier. There had been like 3 or 4 people coming in doing the job I used to do, and so I asked my boss if I could go, and he said, "Yeah." And I headed for the airport.
And nobody knew.
Nobody knew.
Except you and Nana.
Yeah.
And there was no communications between the two of us in any way, was there?
No.
My plane got held up in Alaska or something, I think.
Then since then I've had one other feeling. And as I've been telling you how close my sisters and I have been together. Well, of course, Bess has been gone about 11 years, close to 12 years, when Lois got real sick. And one afternoon, one evening, Daddy and I was having our dinner, and all of a sudden I had this horrible feeling come over me. And I said, "You know what? My sister's passing away." I cannot keep the tears back. Now, the other 2 times I'd had joyous feelings within me. This time I was so depressed that I could not fight the tears away. You know, I said, I don't know what it is. And I don't know what it is, you know. But I just felt it, and sure enough, I lost my sister, you know. But those are the 3 times in my life that I've had very, very strong feelings. There's no predictions to them. It happens at the time of the happening, really. It's not a future thing. It's
Halfway around the world, but you can feel it happening.
I can feel it happening, right. So I cannot make any predictions or anything like that, but I do have strong mental telepathy, I guess you could call it, with different things.
Lori didn't inherit that. Every time she has a strong feelings, it's wrong.
I worry that it might be.
Yes.
I remember being woke up one morning. The baby hasn't moved for 2 days. Baby Todd. She was pregnant. The baby hadn't moved. She was scared. The baby, something wrong. The baby hadn't moved for 2 days. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, when's the last time you fell asleep? Oh, about dinner time last night. I said, well, that's only about 6 hours ago. She said, well, that was yesterday and today. It's 2 days. True story, huh?
No.
Yes, it is. And then there was this, well, after the time, it was right about this time of the year we put the Christmas tree up, and you were pregnant.
Yes. Well, they didn't have the right kind of Christmas trees in
You had
Texas.
the
I
Christmas
wasn't.
tree all decorated, and you didn't like it, did you?
No, it looked awful. Didn't look like my California Christmas tree.
So we de-decorated it and went out and bought a different one, didn't we?
Yeah, you did. went and bought me a new one. Then I realized it was a Christmas tree, because that one didn't look too much better.
There's bushes in Texas.
Yeah.
Cedar. Was it cedar?
Actually, we had a Douglas fir, but it was so skinny.
Well, that's better than some of the Christmas trees that you had,
Yeah.
honey, down in Alabama, was it, where you?
Yeah, we didn't get a Christmas.
Mississippi?
Yeah, we didn't get
Mississippi?
Peaceful.
Peaceful.
Yeah, we didn't get a Christmas tree at all.
We got a Christmas tree.
Finally.
On the 24th.
Yeah.
We just got there that morning.
But don't you remember there wasn't any place that had any Christmas tree? We
Yeah.
looked and looked and looked. We drove halfway to New Orleans before we found a nursery. Yeah, and I kept saying, "Where's the Christmas tree light?" I didn't know what we were talking about.
So many trees down there. It's
I
kinda-
guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Grandpa was just telling me this morning that somebody plucked a Christmas tree off of your yard.
Yes, of course we were sick about it too, but that's another reason that fence went up around our place, you know, because we do have some little trees, and it is what they call the Ponderosa pine. And that kind of a tree has the real long needles on it, you know. Well, a lot of people like those to make wreaths and garlands.
Walls.
Yes,
Yeah, walls.
things. So they just help themselves to a nice tree. I don't know whether they use it as a Christmas tree or to make their garland. But nevertheless, we put up a 5-foot fence around the place now.
Keep the puppies in too.
Yeah, to keep our puppies in and to keep the biggies out too.
Yeah, Kegoki enjoyed the fence.
Yes. The home that we live in now, the other home that we raised the kids in, I loved very much. I loved that house, and it was built to my specifications. We added to it 2 or 3 times as we wanted different things for. As our children grew older, why the closet space for formals and things was not adequate, so we had to add on for that, you know. And I loved that house, and I loved it very dearly, and it was very, very difficult for me to leave because it was the last house that my mother had lived in with us, and we had raised both children there. We moved in when Gloria was 18 months old, and their little teeth marks was on all the windowsills. Both children.
I didn't do that.
And
That was
yes.
Elisa's. Nancy's.
Both children. Oh, Sadie used to drive by the house, and there would be Gloria standing on the laundry hamper with the screen window out and hanging out the windows, talking to different kids up and down the block. Sadie used to wonder, why in the world let my kid do that? Well, I didn't let her go outside, so she was communicating
With the outside world.
With the outside world. But I permitted quite a few things that other parents, I guess, didn't permit. But I also restricted a lot of the restrictions. Like one time, there was a bunch of teenagers drove up in the car, just laughing and talking and having a whale of a good time. One of them jumped on the fender and the driver took off.
Yeah.
I don't know who would do a thing like that.
You were driving, and Bob Witheridge, I think, was the one that jumped on the
Fender?
fender.
Oh, I just visualize that kid crushed.
I don't think I ever did things like
So
that.
I drug my daughter out of there, and boy, of course, that was tears, tears, tears. I wouldn't let her go then, because I didn't want nobody showing off in the car. It was too dangerous. I didn't mind her going, but I didn't like with the.
I don't know who did that. Who was about that?
Must have been somebody else.
Beth Bellman was in there.
Yeah.
For one. So, and Bob Witheridge.
It seemed to me that Bob was the one that jumped on the fender.
He was.
But
he
I
was.
don't remember.
And Phil.
Yeah.
Now, I think Phil was the one
That jumped on the hook.
fender.
Yeah, it was.
He was the one that jumped out of the back and jumped on the fender when he started to take off. I said, oh, they're showing off now. They're acting smart. It's just too much.
He was bad about that.
He He almost killed himself on water skiing.
Right up on the shore.
There was another one or two in there, I don't know.
Probably Jean and Mike.
I don't know whether Mike was in there or not, but I do believe Jean was.
Mike and Beth were going to get us in a while.
So it could have been them. But we had a good time. We enjoyed your childhood, your teenage, as far as Daddy and I was concerned, it was just a storybook happening to us.
We did have a good time, didn't we?
We never missed anything, did we?
That's right.
There was something going on, we were there.
We went to them all.
Some people talk about, you didn't get to date a lot of people and so forth. But we always had a date for anything.
That's
Anything
right,
was
and
going on, didn't we?
we went everywhere. We don't feel we missed anything.
Went to about 4 proms, I recall.
Yeah.
Right.
And then there was, remember the prom that...
My mother cried
Your
because
senior prom, yeah. Tell me about that.
I was wearing a used dress.
Oh, this child broke my heart. Is her own prom.
Yeah, I know.
And I wanted to buy her a new dress. And I wanted it to be very, very special. Because I hadn't graduated from high school myself. I was a dropout. And so with Gloria, I wanted her to have everything just new, and she was bound and determined that she had bought this secondhand dress. It was a very beautiful dress, but it was secondhand.
Well, we went and bought that beautiful dress. If you remember what happened, we bought that dress like in January for my June prom. And by the time June came along, we only had there just wasn't too many new styles out, and with a graduating class of 600 girls, dresses got duplicated.
Right.
And it turned out that a couple of my own immediately friends
had duplicated the dress that we had bought for you.
Yeah, they did. And then since I had other formals from Joby's and DeMolay, and that was their only formal, I decided I would wear the other dress. And I did like that dress an awful lot.
It was a beautiful dress.
Yeah.
It was white, and it was a beautiful dress.
But it was used.
But it was used, right. Anyway, they just looked such a gorgeous couple as they left that night to go to the prom. And I was very proud and very thrilled and everything. I just knew that they were going to have a good time.
But I was wearing a used dress and it broke her heart.
Yes. But I knew that you would have a good time. And about 11 o'clock, the telephone rang. And my daughter had been
Prom princess.
Elected prom princess.
Yeah.
And that came as a big shocker and a surprise to me because I was not even thinking in those terms.
I wasn't either. You know, I was active in Joby's
Right.
DeMolay, and I just didn't, I thought the cheerleaders and all of that would be.
Well, there were a lot of your friends that didn't even march in the promenade because they said that what good is it going to do?
Yeah, Carol Hamilton was one that didn't promenade. She said, no, the cheerleaders will get it. But they had the wives of the and
The
husbands.
spouses of the teachers be the judges.
Judges.
So they didn't know any of the kids. They just picked the prettiest girls.
Well, and then I had a different dress, one that wasn't like everybody else's.
Well, she attributed it to the dress. It was a beautiful dress, and it did look gorgeous on her. So, she was a very, very stunning young lady.
The phone's going crazy.
Oh, yeah.
So, you did have a nice teenage life, and
We did. It was lots of fun. We did lots of things.
lots more than the average child gets
yeah.
to do, you know. So,
Well,
We're done.
I think so.
what you got there, Grandpa?
Well, we gotta decorate for Christmas. It's Christmas time. Tis the season.
Why don't you plug in the, whatchamacallits?
Okay.
Look this way.